Three cop cars pull into my gravel drive at 6 in the morning, lights off, but boots loud on the porch, and the officer asks me, quiet as if he's reading a grocery list, "Sir, did you know your truck is blocking the easement?" I stared at him like he'd asked me if I'd left the kettle on, and that's when I knew this wasn't about a truck. This was about someone trying to make my life small on purpose. My name's Jim Harlow. I grew up fixing things: porches, fences, hearts when they needed it, and I keep a couple of rental houses on the edge of Maple Hollow because it's honest work and it pays for the things that actually matter. I like coffee with cream, I like my dog, and I don't like people who weaponize the rules they don't understand to hurt the people who do. I never thought I'd end up in a fight where the weapon was a complaint form and the battlefield was a neighborhood. Evelyn Cross moved into number 6 with a moving truck and an attitude that fit in the doorway like she owned the doorframe, though she didn't. At first she smiled, thin, professional, practiced, and told me she loved the oak trees, and I believed her, because who else is going to fall in love with a cracked mailbox and a hand-built swing? Then the little thing started. "Your hedges are blocking my view," she said. "Your dog barks too loud." She asked for new paint colors, asked for the porch light changed, asked for the oak trimmed down for the safety of my guest's car, as if the tree had a vendetta. You learn patterns. One-off complaints don't make you a villain. Repetitive, escalating complaints do. It's not the complaint itself that's cruel, it's the intent behind it. The first time she called 911 about my truck, the officer came, smiled politely, and left. The second time, at 6 a.m., I remember my daughter was visiting. We were making pancakes, and the neighbors were waking up to what felt like a bad sitcom. Evelyn was waiting across the street with a phone and the sort of composure people practice in front of mirrors. She waved at the cops like she was the star of the show. "He's obstructing the easement," she told them, and the officer looked at my survey and said, "No, sir, this is fine." Evelyn kept her smile. That smile was the beginning of the war. What pushed me over was the flood. Not the storm kind. The kind someone rigs by loosening a drain pipe in the night, so the basement becomes a pool, and the new hardwood swells and peels like old wallpaper. I found a plumber with hands like an honest man and an invoice with the words "intentional tampering" in it. I found a neighbor with a headlight camera that caught a familiar coat. I found that the people who see themselves as guardians of the neighborhood sometimes think the best way to guard is to erase the people they don't like. Evelyn's motive? Power. Control. Maybe jealousy. She made a tidy life out of being the person who would enforce rules she wrote in her head. Maybe it was the HOA whispering sweet nothings into her ear, promising a sense of order if she just polished the rumor mill. Whatever it wasn't an honest complaint. There were moments when I wanted to scream and moments when I wanted to hire someone to scream for me. Instead, I went to Rita Morales. She's a small-town lawyer with an office the size of a good closet and a brain the size of a city, and she told me 3 words I'd been trying to learn: document, document, document. So I did. I kept a log in a notebook that started as a list and ended as a spine for the whole fight. Date, time, who was there, what was said. Photos, video, receipts, affidavits from neighbors. My daughter sat with me, and we uploaded everything to the cloud like sacrament, because facts are stubborn things, and they travel better when backed up. Evelyn tried other lines: rumor, whisper, a local paper that loves a spectacle. A reporter called, ready to write the sad little tale of an evil landlord stealing someone's light. They filmed my yard from the angle that made my truck look like an obstacle course and edited the sound to give her voice weight. In their footage, she was warm. In their footage, I was a man shuffling papers. That hurt in a way damage never did. There's a cruelty in watching your life become someone else's narrative. I could fight the damage to wood and drywall. I couldn't fight a headline that painted me as the villain. So we brought the battle into a courtroom where the lights are bright and people speak into microphones like they're trimming hedges with lawnmower noises. There was a binder, Rita's binder, that looked like a small library, tabs and labeled pockets, and a neatness that smelled of discipline. Neighbor statements, camera stills, the plumber's affidavit, the police reports, the digital trail that showed Evelyn's escalations. In court, Evelyn wore the same smile and told the judge a story about feeling unsafe, about a man who wouldn't cooperate. She spoke in a way that felt rehearsed. It had the cadence of someone who's practiced indignation in the mirror. What happened in the courtroom was less cinematic than it is in the movies. There's more paperwork and less dramatic music, but there are still moments that feel like thunderclaps. My neighbor Tommy got up and told the judge what he'd seen on his backyard camera, how a coat walked down the road at midnight, and how the pipe leak was not a misfortune but a choice. Rita stood up and laid out the timeline like a map of intent. When evidence meets a motive, judges listen. The judge asked a quiet question about restitution, and for the first time in months, I felt the knot in my chest loosen. We didn't get fireworks. We got something better, a judgment that recognized a pattern of harassment and ordered Evelyn evicted, ordered restitution for damages, and most importantly made it clear that weaponizing community rules for personal vendetta has consequences. The sheriff came to the house with a clipboard and a calm face, and Evelyn left with a single suitcase and the same tidy composure she'd arrived with. It's strange to watch a person walk away when you've been rehearsing their exit in your head for months. There's a hollow victory that tastes like the dust on old shelves. We'd won, but the win didn't fix the nights of worry, the town gossip, or the footage of my daughter reading the news with a frown. After court didn't feel like a tidy ending. It felt like a beginning where you pick up the pieces and try to make them matter. I spent weeks repairing floors, repainting porches, changing locks, and talking to neighbors. I started a small fund for landlords in Maple Hollow to get basic legal advice, not because I wanted to be a hero, but because I knew other folks would get steamrolled if no one taught them how to document, how to protect themselves. Rita and I put together a one-sheet for tenants and landlords: communication, documentation, mediation. I posted it on the community board, not the rumor kind, the board with flyers wedged under thumbtacks. It felt like patching a roof with hand-me-down shingles, but it was honest work. People ask if I'm still angry. Sometimes. Anger runs like river water. It flows, it erodes, and sometimes it nourishes. Mostly I'm wary now. I watch faces longer, listen to the way phrases land. I plant bulbs in the fall because life insists on growing things. Evelyn's story didn't turn into a confessional. She moved on to somewhere else to pick at other bones. The town talked for a while, which is a kind of weather we can't control, and then it moved on, because towns do. They move on like seasons, not like apologies. If there's a lesson here, it isn't about being tough or about building walls, it's about being deliberate. When someone aims to trouble you, facts are the best shield and other people's testimony is the best mirror. If you own property, if you rent, if you're part of a community, keep records. Talk to your neighbors. Don't let your defense be your pride, let it be your paperwork. And when you can, turn the fight into something that helps someone else. That's how anger becomes useful. I won't pretend every story ends with a tidy bow. There are scars. Still, a scar is a map of a thing that happened and how you pass through it. But there's also a picture of my daughter and my dog on the mantle and a repaired porch swing that creaks the way it always did. Sometimes, late at night, I think about Evelyn and wonder what hollow place in a person makes them choose to hurt their neighbors rather than fix their own heart. I don't know. Maybe it's fear disguised as righteousness. Maybe it's loneliness dressed up in a cardigan. I don't know her, only the echoes she left. So here's the part one want to hear from you. Do you think justice was served? Was the eviction enough? Should there be more community accountability? Or does giving power to the system risk more harm than help? Tell me in the comments where you stand. Tell me if you've ever been on the receiving end of someone's fury turned bureaucratic, or if you've ever watched a neighbor undo another with petitions and posts. Hit share if you think someone else ought to hear this. And if you're in a place where the rules matter, print out that one sheet, talk to your neighbors, and keep a notebook. Life in a small town is messy and beautiful, and sometimes mean, and if we don't tell each other what happened, who will learn how to do better?